Welcome to Middle Class Matters, Business News in English from Dr. CMA ALAGESAN. Hindenburg Research Report on Adani Stock Manipulation and Accounting Fraud. The report is read in full. Part number 26 continued. Question number 21. The nature of this trading suggests that these entities are involved in manipulative wash trading or other forms of manipulative trading. How does Adani respond? Question number 22. In 2019, Adani Green Energy completed two offerings for sale (OFS) that were critical for ensuring that its public shareholders were above the 25% listing threshold requirement. What portion of these OFS deals were sold to offshore entities including Mauritius and Cyprus entities named in our report? 23. Indian listed corporates receive a weekly shareholding update not disclosed to the public, which would entail the shareholding changes around the deals. Will Adani detail the full list of offshore entities that participated in the OFS deals? 24. Adani chose Monarch Net Worth Capital to run the OFS offerings. An Adani private company has a small ownership stake in Monarch, and Gautam Adani's brother-in-law had previously purchased an airline together with the firm. This close relationship seems to pose an obvious conflict of interest. How does Adani respond? 25. Why did Adani choose Monarch Net Worth Capital, a small firm previously suspended and sanctioned by SEBI over allegations of market manipulation, to run the offerings rather than a large, well-respected broker? 26. Mr. Rupi Singh, Group CFO at the time the shareholding issue erupted in public forums in 2021, claimed in an NDTV interview on June 16, 2021 that funds like the Mauritius shareholders had not made fresh investments and had come to own shares of other Adani stocks through vertical demergers. Our analysis shows that it was almost certain that the Mauritius shareholders made further investments in Adani Green. This coincides with the time when the promoters were required to bring their shareholding down to meet public shareholding norms. How does Adani Group respond to this new evidence? 27. Our findings indicate that SEBI has investigated and prosecuted more than 70 entities and individuals, including Adani promoters, for manipulating Adani stock between 1999 to 2005. How does Adani respond? 28. A SEBI ruling determined that Adani promoters aided and abetted Ketan Parag in the manipulation of shares of Adani Exports, now Adani Enterprises, showing that 14 Adani private companies transferred shares to entities controlled by Parag. How does Adani explain this coordinated, systematic stock manipulation in its shares, together with one of India's most notorious convicted stock fraudsters? 29. In its defense, Adani Group claimed it had dealt with Parag and his stock manipulation efforts to finance operations at the Mundra port. Does Adani view extraction of capital through stock manipulation as a legitimate method of financing? Question number 30. Individuals close to Ketan Parag have told us that he continues to work on transactions with his old clients, including Adani. What was and is the full extent of the relationship between Parag and Adani Group, including either entity's relationship with Vinod Adani? Question number 31. Given that Adani Group promoters pledged shares as collateral for loans, wouldn't stock manipulation artificially inflate the collateral and borrowing base for such loans, posing a significant risk for the promoters' counterparties and, by proxy, Adani shareholders who would suffer at the hands of a collateral call or deleveraging via equity sale? Question number 32. In 2007, an Economic Times article described a deal whereby a brokerage controlled by Dharmesh Doshi, a fugitive associated with Ketan Parekh, bought shares in a pharmaceutical company for a B6 entity where Vinod Adani served as shareholder and director. What was and is the full extent of the relationship between Dharmesh Doshi and the Adani Group, including with Vinod Adani? Question number 33. What is the explanation for a Vinod Adani entity receiving an alleged US dollar 1 million as part of a transaction with Jerem Capital, the brokerage entity previously run by Dharmesh Doshi at the time of fugitive and wanted market manipulator? Question number 34. Investors generally prefer clean and simple corporate structures to avoid the conflict of interest and accounting discrepancies that can lurk in sprawling, convoluted structures. Adani's 7 key listed entities collectively have 578 subsidiaries and have engaged in a total of 6,025 separate related party transactions in fiscal year 2022 alone, as per BSE disclosures. Why has Adani chosen such a convoluted, interlinked corporate structure? Question number 35. We found at least 38 Mauritius-based entities associated with Vinod Adani and Subir Mitra, the head of the Adani Private Family Office. We also found Vinod Adani associated with entities in other tax haven jurisdictions like Cyprus, the UAE, Singapore, and various Caribbean islands. Several of these entities have transacted with Adani entities without disclosing the related party nature of the dealings, seemingly in violation of law, as evidenced throughout our report. What is the explanation for this? Question number 36. How many entities is Vinod Adani associated with as either director, shareholder, or beneficial owner? What are the names and jurisdiction of these entities? Question number 37. What are the full details of the Vinod Adani associated entities dealing with private and listed entities in the Adani empire? Question 38. We found websites for 13 Vinod Adani entities that seem like rudimentary efforts to demonstrate that the entities have operations. Many websites were formed on the exact same day and listed the same set of nonsensical services such as consumption abroad and commercial presence. What business or operations do each of these entities actually engage in? 39. One of the websites for a Vinod Adani associated entity claimed we trade in services such as sale and delivery of an intangible product like a service between a producer and consumer. What does that even mean? 40. A Vinod Adani controlled Mauritius entity, now called Karnal Trade and Investment, lent INR 11.71 billion, US dollar 253 million to a private entity, Adani entity, without disclosure of it being a related party loan. How does Adani explain this? Question 41. A Vinod Adani controlled EAE entity called Emerging Market Investment, DMCC, list no employees on LinkedIn, has no substantive online presence, has announced no clients or deals, and is based out of an apartment in the UAE. It lent US dollar 1 billion to an Adani power subsidiary. What was the source of the Emerging Market Investment DMCC funds? Question 42. A Vinod Adani controlled Cyprus entity called Odakar Investments has no signs of employees, no substantive online presence, and no clear operations. It had an investment of US dollars 85 million in an Adani private entity without disclosure that it was a related party. How does Adani explain this? 43. What was the source of the Odakar funds? Question number 44. We have identified a series of transactions from 2013 to 2015 whereby assets were transferred from a subsidiary of listed Adani Enterprises to a private Singaporean entity controlled by Vinod Adani without disclosure of the related party nature of these deals. What is the explanation for these transactions and the lack of disclosure? 45. The private Singaporean entity controlled by Vinod Adani almost immediately wrote down the value of the transferred assets. Were those still held on the books of Adani Enterprises, it likely would have resulted in an impairment and significant decline in reported net income. What is the explanation for why these assets were transferred to a private undisclosed related party before being written down? Please like the video, subscribe to the channel. Please share as much as possible in the interest of education of the investors, and thanks for watching.